I'm Sandra Champlain. You may or may not know me, but I'm the host of We Don't Die Radio, also Shades of the Afterlife on the iHeartRadio channel. I also wrote a book called We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And I am passionate about discovering good evidence of the afterlife, sharing good people, making a difference so that ultimately we can move through grief and we can have the best life possible while we're here. So I've got two friendly faces. Look at their smiles right there. There they are smiling. That is Carrie McLeod and Philip Dykes. And we thought we would just get on and have an informal chat right now, even though they're all dressed up. We just came from our Sunday gathering. But this is a very big week. We are starting some courses, some 4-week courses, and they always start the first week of the month. So on Wednesdays, we are going to have Psychic Wednesdays. And on Thursdays, we're going to have Mediumship Thursdays. And each session will be 2 hours over the course of 4 weeks, which is actually part of a bigger picture because many of us are at home and have spent much time at home. So it's really wonderful to be able to tap into your own soul power. So I thought we'd just do an informal chat and find out from Carrie and Phil what Wednesdays are about, what Thursdays are about, what the big picture is, and how people can participate and why
Mm,
they should. Yes.
absolutely.
Where do we begin?
Yeah, Wednesdays are, we see that as the precursor to mediumship because many people get psychic and mediumship confused or even think they are the same thing. But we like to keep students of mediumship in the psychic faculty for a little bit before we let them interact with the spirit world, simply because it's easier to do that kind of communication when you have somebody that can answer you face to face. So we do our Psychic Wednesdays to let everybody get used to working with the soul, get used to the mechanics of being able to give evidence, give the statements, get the recipient answering, and understanding how the soul works, so that when they then move on to the Thursdays, because you need to have done the Wednesdays before you can get to the Thursdays, unless you absolutely know the difference, then you know what to do. But we love the Wednesdays. We love the psychic work.
Yeah, the Wednesday is really about finding out everything about yourself, because that personal development really helps you understand when you work on the Thursdays with the spirit world. So we stick with the Wednesdays just for a second. It's all about that emanation of your thoughts, your emotional states, your physical states, learning everything, how you react to that and understanding yourself at a very deep level. So when the spirit world on a Thursday, when we work, it sounds like a special day, doesn't it, Thursday? It's just the way that they can inspire us and bring us forward, how to use their evidence, how to bring it forward and use it correctly, because we get impressed by the mind, the emotion, the physicality, and it directs us in that lead of how we address and present that evidence. So it's really important that we get a good understanding of self on the Wednesday, working through one-to-ones in the breakout rooms, having a good education on it, where we do a lecture at the beginning of every class, different aspects of it. So when you leave, it's not just that you're practicing it, but you know exactly what it is and what the difference is with the mediumship.
I was about to say, because not everybody knows the difference between the two. So we make it very clear on the Wednesday how to work psychically, because there's this tendency to think that psychic is a bad word. It is not at all. Working psychically or receiving a psychic reading can be one of the most profound ways that we can assist another person. It's about empowering, it's about offering insight, or sometimes offering a different perspective about the person's life. But psychic is all about the recipient that's still breathing. So we work with the soul to soul. And when we go to the spirit world, we're still working psychically, but we are working with people who no longer need to breathe. We just need to call it something different. And so we call it mediumship. And therefore, the Wednesdays and the Thursdays will give you a really good understanding through working with us on the Wednesday. And although we're working starting on the first Wednesday of February, it is progressive. So there is the opportunity for you to work with us progressively all the way through the year, because we are here
Yes.
all year. And a lot of people, I know that Sandra knows this too, a lot of the people join us on the Wednesday and the Thursday. So they're developing that inner knowing within themselves, as well as getting a better understanding how to really be that best communicator for the spirit world.
Absolutely. And the Thursday is very, very disciplined, as is the Wednesday. We don't play silly games or anything like these. Are proper what we call formal
We do
training.
have fun.
We
though.
do have fun, but that's between us having a laugh. But again, it's really about you understanding that the emanation of the soul and how it's used and how we use it in mediumship. But also on the Thursdays, it's exactly the same discipline, but we must understand that we're doing it properly for real reasons of comfort and healing. But we're not just taking you through different exercises. We want to build that foundation that you're in the essence of the communicator, that loved one that's coming forward. So you really understand them. You really get to know them. They are real people with a real story, and it's their evidence. They want to bring it in their way. And we've just the instrument they're using to bring that forward. So the more that we know ourselves, when it comes to the Thursdays, it's you've got an advantage already about how everything leads you and directs you. But again, it's speaking that truth. But we have that discipline in the Thursdays, don't
Because
we?
we've firm believers in having a very strong foundation. I was once told at the very beginning of my development, when I got frustrated continually going back and learning the psychic, working in the psychic, and I was told, you do not want to build a house of cards on a foundation of sand. You want to build a strong house on a very strong foundation that doesn't shift beneath you. And that's what we're all about, is giving that strong foundation so that people know what psychic is. They appreciate the comfort, that love and that healing from the mediumship, and that integrity and the moral and the ethics that go along with it too. So we want to really share a firm foundation, along with a bit of humor, along with real having fun too. But the backbone of it is that integrity, because we want everybody that works for the spirit world to really be able to connect in that way, that they treat them as people.
Yeah, no
It's-
shopping
yeah.
list. It really is people, Sandra. Yes.
Yeah, I was just thinking, when I first got interested in mediumship, I was not interested in psychic. And it wasn't until meeting you guys to understand the big picture, the foundation. It's almost like, when you hear somebody goes to medical school for many, many, many years, and then they learn surgery so they can do an operation on you. So imagine that somebody first gets the information on just surgery and doesn't go through all that learning about the human body and all that different medical training. While they may be able to do one particular kind of surgery, they don't know the big picture, the big context. And it's using that psychic muscle that we all have, like going to medical school, that we need to build that foundation. Carrie, do you have that little blue disc that you show in class handy? Because maybe you could explain that, because it was when you showed that and explained that I understood how mediumship and psychic work together. Would you mind?
It's a tea coaster.
It's a
That's beautiful.
But if we treat this as the psychic, people sometimes want to focus on mediumship. Now, if we treat all of this as the psychic and we learn all of this, then when we come to honing in, mediumship is part of the psychic faculty. So if we learn psychic faculty in depth, then when we flick the switch and allow people to work with the spirit world in class, then they know how to use the soul, because they have honed the soul, because the soul is the medium, the soul is the psychic, it's the part of us that allows it to be the truest expression of who we are, and we can then express the person in the spirit world in the truest way, personality with emotion as well as facts. But if people skip the psychic, then they only end up knowing the mechanics. I say only, but they don't know the full breadth and depth that the psychic can bring. And the psychic is fun as well. It really takes, we've got people that have learned the mediumship and then gone back to do some psychic, and as well as learning, they get to have a greater depth and relax a bit more into it.
They do, because once they're working with the spirit world, that understanding and depth really shows in their evidence, where they're able to open things up, really understand what they're giving. But even going back to that psychic development, and you saw Kerry with the coaster and everything on there, that is so fascinating, because there's so many different aspects of the human psychology, our essence, our emanations, that when we do our job properly, somebody comes for a psychic reading, they feel seen, they feel definitely heard, and they're so empowered by it. And we're not predicting or anything like that. We're just really helping them to see self. It empowers them, where they can have their own actions, take their own decisions in life. You're giving them that key to say, take charge of your life. That's what it's all about. And even where we can, sorry for speaking over you, but again here, we get to find out the soul qualities, what we're meant to be doing, how we're meant to be doing it, what we're good at, and it helps us see where we fit into the world. So a good reading, psychic reading, is really empowering.
Yeah, and a lot of people, just when you said prediction, a lot of people think that psychic is all about prediction, when in actual fact it's absolutely not about prediction. You never see us teaching prediction using the psychic.
What is it about? If somebody just wants a psychic reading, we know a medium reading is you being in touch with our deceased loved ones, but why would somebody want a psychic reading?
It helps them in their life find themselves, discover where they're meant to be, and it might be where they're at some kind of crossroads. We hear this a lot, where they've got to make decisions. We're not telling them which decision to make or giving them advice. It really is getting to know the person in front of you, reminding them who they are, reminding them of all the things they've gone through, reminding them how their actions got them through and how strong they are. Then all of a sudden it's like, well, I can deal with this, I know what to do with it. It really empowers them. So it really is getting to know the real essence, their personality, their character traits, everything that's gone on within their life, and it helps them see what's in front and make their own decisions.
And not everybody that comes on the Wednesday wants to be a psychic or wants to be a medium. A lot of people that we've had through last year and through January wanted to know more about the psychic, and actually wanted to know more about how they sensed things, or why they felt energies coming in, or why they knew who was going to be on the end of the phone, or why signs or symbols were happening. They just wanted to know more. It really is empowering to have some of the questions answered that otherwise we've only got other people's points of view. But when we know for ourselves how it works, and we've experienced it for ourselves, many people came last year for a lot of months simply because they wanted to learn for themselves, not because they were looking to take it out and say they were a psychic or a medium.
I enjoy doing all of this. Sorry, Phil. And I love being with you on the courses. And it's not like I want to be a medium out in the world and doing readings, but I'm a firm believer and knower that the afterlife is real. And I also know that it's darn hard to live a life being a human being. And on most days, except for when we're together, I get caught up in that this is all there is, forgetting that there's a bigger picture. But ladies and gentlemen watching right now, when you have an opportunity to work with someone else, because you get into these breakout rooms and you tap into your soul and you practice doing these psychic readings on the other. And when you start having these experiences that the other person's saying, yes, 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 almost like, how did you know that? And you're thinking, how did I know that? And you start tapping into your soul. You really start feeling that if you know these things, you can't just be this body. You are so much more. So then suddenly the world of the afterlife that we all want to believe in, but is it true, starts becoming like, oh, wow. And then moving on to the mediumship course and having that experience of knowing things about someone's loved one, and even feeling the love coming from someone's loved one. And it's amazing. So for me, it just keeps me remembering that there's a much bigger picture, and it keeps magic alive. What were you going
Absolutely,
to say,
just
Faye?
Sandra. No, you just, I was just going to carry on from where Kerry left off, but what you just added there is how we feel after every Sunday service. When we're delivering the mediumship, we feel on such a high because we're so privileged, and it's a joyful experience that we're sharing that love, sharing those memories, and bringing that comfort and healing to those that get the contact. But it shows you how we must use the evidence. Like tonight, when we saw things, we can't just say we see this and want the recipient to tell us. It's our job to tell them. So when somebody said yes to me, and I thought, no, you're not telling me quite the truth, and I went back to that power, and it moves you. Oh, remember when you went on this holiday and you had this villa and it was looking over things. This is what the psychic and we trying to do within the mediumship Thursday, is get people to understand the different faculties that are there, and how we mentally perceive them, feel them, and how to use them accurately and present them with logic and rational presentation. These are the things we're trying to instill, as well as the foundations and the understandings of the clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, all these things, but take you and explain them properly to you. Go, not just whip past them like party games, but really go in depth over a period of time. And this is why we're doing this as like a progressive group through the year. Everyone follows the next one. We're building up, working through all the time. So,
I think it's also, many people have given feedback saying they now feel educated how to respond as a recipient, and they also feel educated as to what evidential mediumship is, because there's some confusion out there as to what real evidential mediumship is. So I think that we've got that little flag flying for the spirit world as well, about sharing what evidential mediumship is, and let's share the word and raise the standard and teach recipients and the people left here, when we have family in the spirit world, what we should be expecting as a recipient of an evidential mediumship reading.
and
And
there's some, yeah, sorry, Sandra.
oh no, it's all right. We do this all the time. It's just a little dance we have. Oh, I almost forgot what I was going to say. There's also something that you feel comfortable and you actually embrace getting a no, because I always thought, with training I had in mediumship early on, just a few weekends that I dabbled with, I was absolutely frightened to give a piece of information and have the person say no, frightened. And you make it so we actually want to get no's. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the no is really about a new opportunity of learning. It's really understanding what you've got. And we ask, like Kerry said, we want recipients to be good and say no, because then we can go back and say, okay, I've still got this feeling. I know it's right. So I've either used the wrong words, I've looked at it the wrong way. And by getting the no's in practice, you're able to look at the evidence and present it in slightly different ways, still meaning the same. So it's not completely wrong, but you're trusting and building that confidence. And because of the groups we have, the community spirit, and they all get taught the same way, they start to embrace the no. They start to, okay, I've got to know, is this somebody new coming in? Is this information that's new information that's coming? Where does it sit? And it's just working through it. It really is.
Okay, so I'm about to skate on a little bit of thin ice here. It's winter time. There are people watching now that may be mediums, and you might be out there practicing mediumship and working with people. That's great. And this may be the first time you've really gotten this whole world of the importance of psychic. So you are most welcome to join us. Don't let the ego stop you thinking that you can't, because this foundation is so critical. Kerry, Phil, and I have a real desire to raise the level of mediumship in the world. And this thin ice I'm talking about is, could you just talk about, there are mediums out there that may be using their psychic faculty doing a reading and not being tapped into a loved one in the unseen world.
Yeah, we pay a lot of attention to what the evidence is telling the recipient. So look at it from a recipient's point of view. As a recipient, if all the information is about me, it's likely, not all the time, but it's likely that the medium is working psychically. And if all the evidence is about my loved one in the spirit world, it's likely, there are caveats to it, which we go through and explain very clearly, but it's likely that the medium is working mediumistically. But as I say, there are caveats to both because there are exceptions in both areas. So we want to train the individuals who are working psychically and mediumistically to know the difference. But we also want the recipients to be able to determine most of the time how the person that's working for them is working, whether they are working psychically or mediumistically. And it's not to try and catch anybody out. It's not to try and prove any point. It's about clarity. And we've had people that have worked with us that say, I know I work psychically sometimes, and I know I work mediumistically sometimes, but I'm not entirely sure, or I am sure, but I want to just have a check-in so that you can see that where I'm getting it from. And it's just for that check-in. We've got working mediums that have been working for quite a while with the spirit world come along and have that check-in, and some that have been with us for some time as well, because it's never too late to be topping up our skills and our understanding, and just allowing ourselves to open our minds to even more in terms of our mediumship.
Yeah, there's somebody that comes to mind. We don't mention names ever, but they said we just wanted a check-in just to make sure I'm working and perceiving this the correct way. And they were saying, well, I'm hearing this, and I said, well, did you really hear it? Well, no, not quite. I felt it. And I said, so by just saying you've heard, or you're telling me that you've heard, it's almost like misleading people. We've got to be aware of how we perceive that information as it comes to us. Are we feeling it? So we've got to say we're feeling. Are we seeing it? Then say this is what I'm aware of, what I'm seeing, and make statements. But it's the same with the audience. If we hear it, we know it's facts. We can't change it. We can't play with it too much. It's about truths of how we should be working. So it's just a checkup. Sometimes they come in, yep, I've got that right, got it, and we have to, in a way, as much as we want to educate people, but we also say to people, it's your turn to go out there now and be your own medium, work and get that real learning underneath your belt of demonstrating, doing private readings, because at the end of the day, that's what's needed as well at times.
It's really needed in the world. We all know how much grief and suffering there is, and just to hear those messages, oh, it makes such a difference. Just as a couple of the basics about it. First of all, everything we offer at our We Don't Die family has a money back guarantee. You're not happy, we give you the money back. It's interesting, only 2 people have asked for their money back since we've been starting in April with our courses. And one was a gentleman who, unfortunately, he just couldn't hear. He had a hearing aid, just wasn't working. And the other person was somebody in our mediumship course who didn't feel that was right, had jumped ahead, and was then just wanted to be in the psychic class. So we have integrity, we practice what we preach, we care. New students come in every first Wednesday or first Thursday of the month. Of course, for Thursdays, you do have to have that foundation of having been part of our Wednesday psychic. Each session is 2 hours, so there'll be 4 per month. It's $75 to register for one, $135 to register for the both. And we send you the video replay. We know you are busy people, and sometimes you might have to miss a session. So you always get the video replay. Also included is being part of a very special Facebook group, a very special Facebook community that you get to practice on each other. You get to meet friends, and it's just wonderful. So like Phil and Carrie said, it is part of a bigger thing. You're certainly welcome just to come for a month. There's no strings attached to continue. But if you are somebody who's looking for long-term, although the basics will be covered in the first course, part of the first session every month, the rest will be new and different exercises, maybe revisiting some of the good old standbys, but really getting that practice. So with that, I think that's it. To register, you would go to wedon'tdie.com or wedon'tdieradio.com, same site, and just above, there's a link that says calendar, and you can just click on Wednesday, click on Thursday. There's bunches of other things going on that you're welcome to join us with. Did I miss anything, Carrie or Phil, or any last words?
I don't think you did. I think it's a community that has grown and grown and grown, and everyone's become part of the family now. As Kerry said, there's people been with us since April or March, whenever we started of last year, and it's just going strength to strength. It's fantastic, and those standards that we're trying to help, they're going out into the world. But there is so much going on within that community. There's monthly workshops, there's different classes by other teachers coming on board. There's all kinds of things. So
and we're always in that practice group, keeping an eye. So those of you that are already on there, we see you practicing. So it's always lovely to see that you are actually putting into practice your learnings between classes.
Absolutely. And even where I said recently, you're rubbing off on my 13-year-old son, who said, I can't believe how much they're doing. They're doing this. They want to do this. Because he's at that age where he's been homeschooled. So he's taken on board, and actually he's doing absolutely tremendous. So thank you very much for that inspiration you've given him.
Oh, that's so great. I love that. So just to leave you with some final things, you can find out more at WeDon'tDieRadio.com. Also, we do offer the Sunday gathering that's special. It's free. It's just really good for your soul and just very powerful and feels good. And we always have a demonstration of mediumship as part of it. Usually once a month, Phil and Carrie do a proper 90-minute demonstration of mediumship. If you're not interested in learning, that's fine, but come be with us for that. You can also find out a lot more about Carrie and Phil if you are a medium, or you do want some more detailed mentorship, or if you want a reading, psychic, spiritual assessment, medium reading, you can go to thespiritandsoulfoundation.co.uk. That's how you can find them directly. So with that, Carrie and Phil, thanks.
You're welcome.
You're
Thank
welcome.
You. Thank you
It's
so much.
been a pleasure once again. We get an extra dose of you today.
Yes,
Aren't
and thank you
you
to everyone that's
sweet?
watching us.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you for watching. Really, just wanted to come in with a little infomercial about what's going on. We all need something else in our life, I think, to help us remember the big picture. So we think that these courses are that. So come join us. That's it for now. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.